Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Left 4 Dead 2. So we've done pretty much everything. I have this vague feeling that I skipped something, but I can't imagine what it would have been, really. The only thing I was doing was I was suggesting like what would have been a boss fight that you would have added at the end of um these new levels in Left 4 Dead 2. Like Coldstream clearly could have been like a giant zombie fish, or it could have been well, I think that would be what you'd go with, is giant zombie fish. The Last Stand is oddly named The Last Stand because it doesn't really do anything. That could have been like a giant crow or bird, which that would have been an interesting concept to see any kind of zombie creature that attacked from the sky more than the hunter that jumps on people. Um, you could certainly have had a zombie cow in Blood Harvest in the original level. You could have had uh, some kind of bird again in Dead Air. Death Toll could have been some kind of dog or something. Like you could have an animal zombie creature, or you could just have involved uh, a special infected. That certainly would have worked too. Um, but that's not what we're really wanting to do. We want to try here um, the survival and the scavenger. So I'm just going to play in scavenge and just go official servers, and we'll try and see what this actually is with playing with real people. And let's see. We could edit game settings down to a single round. And we could look at, yeah. So we saw in um, the developer commentary a lot about a browser for this, and um, yeah, you've got a browser here. What does that really mean? Apparently can't mute myself. Somebody jumped in for a second there and then left. So seems like you very possibly are not going to be able to play with people anyways. We could see best available dedicated local server, Steam group server. Let's go back there and see if the server changes anything. Nope. Yeah, I really am not going to have a lot to say to wrap up this criticism of this game, but clearly this is the problem with any multiplayer focused game. 12 years down the line, you have a product that's still being sold that in some percentage is not playable. Like, not unless you have a circle of friends and you can convince those circle of friends to play a 12-year-old game with you, it just does not work. Maybe the issue is scavenge. Maybe people just don't like that playthrough, so let's try survival. Survival, we can play in single player. Okay. So that means we could do any scenario we wanted. Is there a reason to do something that we have already done, like Dead Center, or should we do like Crash Course? I think you do Crash Course, and then you have a bridge or truck depot. I think we can start there. Now, what are you trying to do in survival? That's the question. By the name, you would assume that you're just trying to survive and you can't actually go into a shelter. So the first thing I need to find out is, can I actually get a... Can I actually escape? I think the answer is no, because I think that was the direction. No, we go down that direction. And then eventually we break this section. So it really is just putting you, and I assume right now that zombies just will not spawn.
Molotovs over here! Works for
So
me.
you have a decent amount of an experience that you can work towards. Just by putting that there. And you can set yourself up for success. Of course, again, this drastically changes as an experience if you were actually playing with humans. Like, you just can't get around that idea.
Oh man, you better look at this.
And so, like...
Everybody hold up.
Yeah.
Sweet, baby.
I really have to question, though, how far you can really go with this, because at the end of the day, there's only going to be so many things you can do. Like, so many items you can have.
Here.
Unless they decide to respawn at a certain level. I do have a chainsaw here, so this might be a great place to start a chainsaw run and try and work towards that. But I don't know. Okay. This also would be a great place to...
I'm down.
Wow.
Come on.
Instantly downed because of spitters. This really goes to show the problem with this game.
Thanks. I owe you.
See, this gargantuan, he would be the one you would want to have used all your fireballs of. Meanwhile, see, this feels very similar to the experience that we had with playing this in Lesser Dead 1, where there's just kind of a lack of real polish there. Yeah. We've got Bill is already dead. Zoe's getting dragged away by a jockey. Now she's getting sucked up by a smoker. And that was like 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Like, suffice it to say, I am unimpressed by this concept. This only really works when you have a really good team. And like, even then, it is definitely an experience where you would not really have much of a decent experience. Let's see. Quick match, all servers. Let me just use the mouse because that doesn't seem like that's working with the controller. Quick match, all servers. Failed to join a match, creating it. Let's see, public game versus survival, junkyard. Let's see, at the last stand, seemed to have randomly just picked a thing. Let's see, this one can't be a one round. And we can sit here for a few seconds and see if somebody would join in, but clearly you need 8 people to jump in. And if I can't even connect to a game, then I am not going to get 8 people to jump into a versus survival. There is no versus scavenge. And then realism is online. I mean, you can play realism in single player, but there's not really any difference in it. It's not really like a difficulty setting. It is just a slight change in the visuals. Things are not highlighted. A lot of these posters, the artwork on the posters, are rough to say the least. They didn't pay an artist enough
the military was evacuating people
to really match the posters, to match the face models that have been. I imagine even the first game there was something close to face scans going on for these characters, because these faces do look pretty decent. Either that or they just paid an artist to do a really good job as far as the 3D models and didn't pay an artist. But there really isn't any difference here. It's just like slightly less highlight. Like when I walk away from these guys and can't see them, they just disappear. And it tells you at the beginning here what realism is. Glows around items are disabled. Zombies take less damage to the body, aim for the head. Which I understand why glows around survivors is disabled. I get the idea. Rescues or disabled players can only respawn at safe rooms. So what I need to do is see in single player in particular what happens if I can just blow myself up and see if that's game over or if I actually can respawn. Logically, you would want the game to just automatically you would want it to simply automatically change the amount of damage when you get a headshot, even in its original form, and they simply did not implement that feature in Left 4 Dead 1. There was no realism mode in Left 4 Dead 1. But it really should be the default mode. Every zombie game, the assumption is that you should be doing more damage with headshots. And that's not limited to zombie games. That is also true for non-zombie games.
Ah, yuck. Another boomer. Do you hear that?
What you interesting are not mentioned here is that there is no mention or talk of an auto aim, which I am playing with a controller, so normally when I play a game with a controller I kind of just assume that there is an auto aim going on, but I don't think in this case there is. I don't think any kind of auto aim exists. And if that's the case, then that's probably just a
It's through this tunnel.
testament to my skill being a little higher than I thought. Alright. So I'm gonna try and run forward here and let the zombies kill me. We need to get a lot of zombies. We need to run ahead. We need to let them knock me down. Playing in this mode in single player, though, really would not work. It's just not going to happen because you'll undoubtedly eventually run into a gargantuan, a charger, a spitter, and a boomer. Something that does enough damage to you out of the blue that it's going to feel very unfair. Or which. And I would assume that this is a spawn closet, so.
You are an idiot. Weapon over here.
Some things highlight, but only when you're directly looking at them. Looks like there's a smoker over there. I'm just trying to push into them so they attack me as much as possible. But yeah, playing on easy, it's you can't die for trying. You just don't have any real challenge at all. And so maybe I would have had a bit more of a experience. There you go, come on. Jockey. You can see how the jockey does significantly more damage than a regular zombie.
Nice shot.
Now I've got Zoe trying to heal me. Come on, Spitter.
How do you feel?
I'm still being revived. I thought revives didn't work.
That wasn't necessary. But thanks.
Sure.
I'm bleeding out.
Seems like I am actually bleeding because my number of health is going down lower and lower. But I have to basically run back into the level to try and find any zombies.
I feel awful.
Zombies don't
Wait up, this will only
Maybe you
take a
wanna
second.
heal up.
tend to respawn.
Let me patch you up.
Notice how it's staggering me a little bit? Like I am desperately trying to run away from Zoe trying to heal me now.
Hold on, let me
I'm
patch you
getting
up.
too old for this horse shit.
Let's just run back to the
I know we
14.
gotta move, but I gotta heal you.
Nope, no, I'm stuck. I can't jump.
Thanks a lot.
hit me, zombies. And see, this gameplay mechanic might work a little bit more interesting if you had entire sequences where you had to run back and forth from point A to point B, back and forth over and over again. Like, we saw that in Heavy Rain, but you could have easily taken that concept and expanded it. Yeah, this is like the only place where you hear the sound of birds. I don't really see them.
Ah, damn it! I'm down!
You gonna make it?
I've had worse.
Up and at 'em.
I owe you one.
And see, that resets you to 30.
Let's get up that ladder.
And this is like the only way I can kill myself. They're shooting me. Hi. And that didn't work. I'll jump from the other side.
Looks like we can get back up the other side.
Now it's Francis or Lewis trying to heal me.
I feel I'm down! Help me!
And see, it should be like third strike at that point.
We gotta get you some first, and that's what I owe you.
And you just cannot help yourself. Like, you can't
thanks.
even try to die.
Weapons here!
It's stupid, to say the least. It's really, really dumb. That
I didn't think you were getting back up.
they would make easy so easy that you couldn't die.
Thanks for that.
Let me fix you up.
Thank you.
It's fine.
Ah, shit.
I mean, it should have been even on easy, a possibility. And this definitely just highlights how boring this game really can be. Like,
Thanks a lot.
the actual
I think
gameplay-
I'm going home in a box.
gameplay concept and polish here is missing. Like, particularly when you start separating it from
Down!
the
Help!
when you start separating it from the fun you would just have playing a game with your friends no matter what. Like this is taking 5 minutes to get to realism
we gotta
mode.
find me a medic.
Clearly in single player, realism mode is not very different. And you would assume that would respawn you in a spawn closet, but no, it's just respawning you at the beginning of the game. At the beginning of the level. So realism, there's nobody playing. So realism versus, I assume, there's nobody there. It seems like all servers have pretty much quick match, and then you have to use the mouse at that point. Yeah, nobody's playing this, nobody's playing that. Can't play scavenge. Feels like I did run into maybe some mutations, but none of them were well thought out. So the only other thought would be, is there anybody playing versus at all? I am playing this at roughly, I would say, 2 p.m. Central Time on a Sunday in the United States. So there should be somebody online. I'm not playing this in the middle of the night. people are playing versus. They seem to be playing on a very high level. Yeah, and this is what you would expect is if you find anybody playing at all, they're going to be so at a high level that it's not going to matter. Yeah, we've got every single person about to die.
Oh shit, help!
So interesting, there's not even a button bound to the controller to vote yes or no, so I don't know how to I don't even know what to do there. Like, there's no control button there, so you'd have to bound that button, which arguably that one overlook does indicate this game really only has partial controller support, and it kind of does. Like, there's points in the menu that don't really work on the controller. There's other points. And see, the only thing I would really like to see here is I'd like to be able to play as a spitter, a jockey.
Then we should just oh hell, tell me someone brought the gun bag.
You didn't grab the guns?
I could tell you someone named Ellis brought the gun bag like he was supposed to, but...
You didn't grab the guns? I'm a
Wow. Well, this is a lot of people. And it is quite the bullet sponge. All I was trying to do is get that.
It's about to rain. Molotov here. Look out now.
Now, I don't think we are actually supposed to be I don't know if we're supposed to actually be making it to another level. I don't think we are. I think we're supposed to... I mean, if we are, then I'm failing miserably.
My bomb out.
We got some different music playing. It's a little weird in Versus that you can't play as a regular zombie.
Hold up, healing.
Reloading.
Like,
All good now.
Hey, I'm reloading.
and there's kind of like no reason to...
Let's head to the sugar mill.
So they kind of cleared that area out, and then we're moving to the next area. Yeah. The fact that the developer commentary said one actor did all the motions for both the female and males does make some sense. Like,
Hey, can somebody wait up? I gotta heal. Oh yeah.
I don't know what the bell sound is supposed to be.
playground.
Let's see.
Throwing a Molotov. Hey, look out.
Reloading!
Reloading!
Alright, let's hustle, people. Storms come up quick around here.
So you're trying to get to the end of the level.
Reloading!
And I assume that this is a case where by moving fast you reduce the amount of opportunities that your opponent has to throw zombies at you.
Reloading! Reloading here!
You see, I basically just need to cover while he revives.
Each other now.
Reloading!
Boomer vomited on me. And teamwork is better.
Reloading!
And with that, I am out of bullets
I'm a
for a fast gun.
Chest paddles here. Yes, adrenaline's not going to do anything for me. I'm having a real hard time aiming on the adrenaline and getting knocked out. Cars are flying everywhere. I'm dead. And see, I don't really want to play this. It's not really anything. Like, I assume the thing here would have been to, I didn't even realize defibrillators would have counted against you. Just run to the end. Like so many other scenarios in this game, where there really is just not a good system.
Do you trust that guy?
Don't think we got much choice in the matter.
Fair enough. But you're the first three people I have ever trusted. Shit, I don't even trust myself.
Well, I don't know, Nick. I learned to trust you. So what do I know?
In that case, I don't think we can trust your judgment
Let's
in this
see.
matter.
Look here, the gas station's right across the street.
I want to
We could've
right
always
trigger.
been there and back by now. Come
I
on.
never felt I miss a gun so much.
Spawn, 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 spawn. Spawn, spawn, spawn. I totally missed this guy. Totally missed him, although I could have hit him, frankly, had I been just a little closer. And that was a boomer. And so we had already played as a boomer in the first game. We were seeing this score increase for the other team. Okay.
Alright, now I'm back.
Come on.
Yep, I'm hurt aplenty. First aid kit.
So, yeah, I I tried.
Ammo here.
And honestly, I think we've done fairly well without my assistance at all. Which probably just highlights the fact that the zombies, the special infected, have a much higher advantage. No, I'm looking actually at, in the bottom, that's my teammates who are dead. So I didn't do well. I thought I had done better than I really had.
Reloading here.
So that was the spitter. And I think the spitter only had one primary attack, so it seems like what they're trying to do is reduce the number of attacks for the zombies, because you only play as them really when you are in the versus mode. And it would have made a little bit more sense for the left trigger. Let's see.
Damn, that was quite a wreck.
But yeah, that's pretty much all I can do is just distract him for a second. Survivors have made it 59% of the way or 50% of the way. Probably said 50. Right. So we played as the jockey, we played as the spitter, we played as a boomer. Charger would be the last one they would want to spawn as.
Good to go.
Right triggers, charger. Alright, I'm just gonna let this guy die.
Come on your feet.
Yep, I was trying to let the guy die, but I got shot very quickly as a charger. Which, yeah, having just a few seconds of experience playing as the new special infected, I still don't like versus, and I don't think playing as these new special infected really changed much. Right, so what we want to do is drag somebody, and that didn't work. So, yeah, looks like the survivors are going to survive. One person is lined up in the
Damn it, I'm covered in goo! Fire in the hole! Reloading. Smoker's got me!
Get your asses in here.
So now two of them are in the sanctuary. Now they're just waiting for the other two to get in the sanctuary, which it feels like they should be able to come in fairly easily. Yep. And they made it all the way around with all 4 survivors, which gets them 500 points compared to the 254 points we got in the first scenario. And the problem here is I want to jump out, but it would be very rude to jump out at this point, because I'd like to, I'm sure people would want to do the entire the entire scenario. So now we have chapter 2 to play through. Which, okay, we'll run out this way. I think I want to spawn somewhere here. And that way we can just grab this guy as soon as they set up. This was the area in single player that was full of witches. I wonder if there are going to be any witches, because you don't play as the witch ever in Versus, at least from what I've seen. Yeah, so I don't think you ever get the charge attack. And they're just slowly working their way through this.
Reloading!
Reloading!
Over here.
So yeah. I don't think you get to choose what kind of special infected you are either. The AI director, the procedural generation, determines whether or not you you were given the gargantuan or anything else. Let's see. Spitter. And we jump up here. I don't even know if they're going this way. Let's help out kill this character with the smoker. Using the left trigger, secondary attack, which is kind of nothing.
Jockey!
So they're coughing from the smoker, burning from the acid. That was not a bad attempt.
Load, lock, and cut the talk, 'cause that's
Here you
how
can see
it's
they're jumping.
Hey, look out! I'm down! Watch out!
Make sure we can get a little shot here. I think we may have gotten him. I think we've
Get up!
got just a couple of people as we jump through this. To spectate, we've got just a couple people. Of course, the pros here, if you're playing Versus, would have every little nook and cranny and point of effort that found, so you would know the right place to hide.
We got to go!
I didn't realize this was a spitter. So now, at this point, I'm just kind of waiting for my spitter attack to refill, because there's no reason not to even try and take on the characters.
Thank you.
goddamn goo.
But even if you hit the goo on the character, interesting, they just kicked somebody. So what does that mean? Do they bring in somebody else?
Need some help.
Ain't no harm in going down.
If anybody was going to be kicked, I'd think it would be me that deserves it more than anybody else.
Oh, you want Ellis?
So they now need... Like, even with that failing to do the charger twice, I still feel like I did a decent amount of damage, relatively speaking. Oh, I do hear a witch crying, so it does seem like witches are still AI driven. Like, there is no witch character playing. Alright, they want to spawn, so they've all been killed. Yeah, there is a witch. Interesting. As a zombie, you cannot startle a witch. Good to know. Double guns feels helpful. Is everybody ready?
Ready?
Coach.
Son of a bitch.
Okay.
Spitting things around. I'm so mad. Shit, squealing worm, man. Reloading.
It feels like, though, the way the scoring is set up, that not only would we have to do a good job of stopping them from getting to the end of the level, but we would also have to do an excellent job of fixing our previous mistakes by
Oh, this is bad.
making it to the end.
Reload.
If you don't make it to that end,
This stuff sucks.
then
Got the jockey on me. Shoot the charger, man! Shoot the charger!
these guys are running this way, so we should
Okay, wait here.
stick up for this. There's a lot of friendly fire happening. Gotta figure out if people are staying up with the group or what.
Reloading!
Is there any pills like for me? I'll take an adrenaline shot since I've got nothing else. My health's fairly low, but I don't know if I should be healing quite yet.
Yo, coach, stop shooting me. Hey, look out!
And you just, I suppose, want to
Sorry.
just have it run as far as possible, even if you're only going to get halfway through a level. Well, I just got constricted.
Help, help!
So I can do. I have no idea what just happened there that revived me. Somebody must have revived me through the bottom part of the ramp. See, I basically just sacrificed myself there on accident. As he's hiding me behind a tree.
Watch out!
They're coming.
Shit out!
Sorry about that.
Like, I think all I can really do is jump forward. Just try to run forward. Try and clear the path. So we have a Startled Witch. I'm getting killed by a jockey. I'm trying my best to fight it and not really succeeding. Getting spin on. I just startled another witch. I suppose that's the only way in versus you can that's the only way you can use the witches in this scenario is to have it
Mother of mercy.
I think at this point I'm just gonna exit, like, and hopefully that doesn't ruin their games, but I can't imagine doing what would have been 2 more chapters of that and finding any enjoyment there. Let's just, because that was hard rain, and we did Milltown and Sugartown, so there still would have been Mill Escape, Return to Town, and Town Escape. So it would have taken an entire hour, like more, to do that, and I just don't want to play this game for another hour. It's a weird position to certainly be in to say Left 4 Dead is a major improvement over Left 4 Dead 1, but there's not any real desire still for me to play it, and that's why I generally try to avoid online-centric games, because I just have nothing to say there. Those are not the kind of games I want to play. We can also see that I am totally out of scope from where they want you to play. I've gotten 15 out of 101 unlocked achievements. That's just ridiculous. So let's do the last bit of the developer commentary, which we did the quarter, right? So let's do the bridge, and then let's be done with this series. Generally, I've said this before, but I'll say it again. Generally, I would not even be covering this for my Halloween month, October sub-series. But Back 4 Blood is likely to be out by the time this airs, or very close to being out.
All we gotta do is cross this bridge and we're finally safe.
Or they're gonna line us up against
And
the wall
we're
and
gonna
shoot us.
find, I think, I would suspect that Back 4 Blood is not particularly anything that special. Or I might be pleasantly surprised and find that a lot of people really love Back 4 Blood.
but it still isn't kind of the game I want to play. That is also a possibility. Is that for the fans of Left 4 Dead, the people who would still be playing it even today, they may love Back 4 Blood, and that
Don't sound like
that
soldiers.
might be like the death
Somebody talk to him.
knell of anybody playing Left 4 Dead 2 or Left 4 Dead. It is when Back 4 Blood comes out, and it's just higher resolution, more guns, potentially more characters, better servers, faster connections.
This finale felt risky at first, since it involved the players just moving in a straight line almost the entire time. We wondered whether the experience would feel rich and varied enough. However, given the fiction and fantasy of the space, we found players were constantly making small movement decisions that kept them interested and immersed, and our concerns about monotony fell away. In addition, while we originally designed it to require constantly moving forward, we found that different players have different comfort levels for moving and shooting. Some players just can't do both at the same time. So we tuned the director to adapt to different play styles, adjusting the pacing so that different players would still have a good sense of progress and be able to reach the end.
And looking at his face, his face still doesn't really look human. It has a weird uncanny valley to it. I just noticed. Honestly, I don't feel like this level is badly designed for monotony, but I do think the entire game is monotonous. This does say Louisiana, and I guess at this point I should have known it was New Orleans.
Hey, y'all, stop.
Okay.
Once it's down, let's go.
Now, this may be super simple in this case. This could have always been a two-tiered bridge, so you could go up and down a lot more. But they did have several tricks where you go to the sides, and it's not really common to have two-tiered bridges. Anyways, again, the camera should take control of your vision and show you the ship.
Game assets are more likely to make it through production if they serve the game on multiple levels. Take this bridge ramp for example. Movement-wise, it acts as the starting gate. Audio-wise, it acts as the starting gun. Visually, it blocks and breaks up a potentially uninteresting view. Fictionally, the seizing malfunction and resulting loud bang make it clear that the players have attracted every infected on the bridge.
Yeah, that's the kind of commentary I wanted to hear more of. Is that the idea that they put a lot of thought into a gate, way more than what probably any regular gamer would appreciate or recognize. That's what you want in commentary, is to learn something new, and learn something interesting, not just have a generic explanation or breakdown of what is fairly obvious on the screen. And with no AI directors, there's literally no zombie spawning.
One of our most important tools for creating and evaluating environments was what we called the Left 4 Dictionary. This collectively developed set of terms, ideas, and gameplay grammar describes spaces via their physical properties, functions to gameplay, and their relative advantage or disadvantage to the survivor or infected sides. This provided the team with a shared language for types of gameplay spaces, with examples such as capillary, close quarters, open space, funnel, king of the hill, etc. It also allowed the team to talk about and explore new permutations of spaces in a very clear way. The Left 4 Dictionary proved instrumental in allowing us to efficiently refine our environments and tune difficulty based on an understanding of how each type of space would influence the gameplay. It was especially useful in this bridge map, where we start with a very uniform bridge, and instead of rooms, hallways, etc., we create desirable game spaces using vehicles and damaged portions of the structure.
You might as well just take a sniper gun.
Most of the region where Left 4 Dead 2 is set is quite flat. There are few hills or changes in elevation, but maps without any elevation change can be monotonous both visually and in terms of gameplay. That's why this double-decker bridge was not only a visually strong set piece, it added the much-needed element of verticality to the campaign.
Yeah, but they don't have a lot of verticality in any other points, really. And even in the implementation of this, you could have had the opportunity to do this a lot further back. And there should have just been, I think, service ladders on the side where you could climb up and fall down and separate. The whole idea of Left 4 Dead is to let bad players in some small element just make the mistake of breaking up the group. Whereas this finale scenario, you can't have that. You can't really do that. And yet, even on easy, playing this on single player, there were so many zombies being thrown at you that it doesn't really make it completely easy to beat the level with everybody still alive. And that's why I believe Rochelle, who apparently is a news TV producer, died when I played this in single player. You do see some birds flying around. What's funny is we heard birds in one scenario but didn't see them. Now we see birds and hear them. They don't swoop down and attack you or cheap shot you in any way. They'd be practically impossible to shoot. They're too small. But they could certainly be feasting on corpses for more realism.
Stormy weather effects give the director yet another way to influence gameplay by altering the player's sensory capacity. One goal of the weather effects is to draw the team together and put them in a defensive stance, such as taking refuge within a building. In this respect, weather is much like a crescendo event, but because it's entirely under director control, it can happen at any time, any place. The storm itself is created using a combination of particle effects, fog, tone mapping, local contrast, post-processing, DSP alterations, and sound effects. While technically a storm can strike in any environment, we chose to limit it to the Milltown campaign in order to provide a fictional background for the flooding of the maps. Thus, the storm is thematically tied to a new navigational challenge and creates a unique experience for that campaign.
That makes no sense to me. Like, if the storm effects worked in any scenario, it should have been implemented in every scenario. There must be some other reason why it wasn't implemented. Otherwise, it just comes down to
ammo here,
like bad gameplay design, which honestly, I feel like there's a lot of that. Interesting. Did I just kick the oxygen tank through a wall? We do not get anywhere enough use out of sniper rifles or oxygen tanks in the game. You'd think like you'd try to remake a hospital scenario like No Mercy and there would be oxygen tanks everywhere and it would be this cavalcade of explosions. But no, that's not really what happens. To create a feature, to add that, to even be happy to highlight and promote that feature and then say, well, we're only putting it in this one level. What it screams to me is that there was actually different teams making different levels in parallel, which that's probably exactly what happened. So by the time one team had done Heavy Rain and gotten that effect working, all the other scenarios have been already made.
The grenade launcher came about purely out of our desire to see more explosions and more zombies killed by explosions. We found that something interesting happened when we gave one of the 4 survivors a grenade launcher. They became more vulnerable to close-up attacks, and their teammates adjusted their strategy accordingly. A pattern emerged where one player would lob grenades from afar at approaching mobs, and the other players would clear off the stragglers when they got too close.
The problem with the grenade launcher is that it is so incredibly slow that a group of zombies can form and get a little bit closer. So theoretically, the best you could do is shoot one far out, then lower your aim, shoot another one far out, and hope that that's close enough, then lower your aim again to shoot the next group. And at that point,
you've got to just rely on the other players to have cleared out any other zombies, or you just have to shoot this constantly as you're going forward. I feel like particularly on this level too, you're gonna miss developer commentary. And this was the level point where it was really confusing because you have to come all the way back here and there's just nothing visual that points you to this way, where it would have made sense for there to have been just a sanctuary spray arrow, a yellow arrow on the ground pointing to that. Here we have a weird water running sound, which is leaking out of a pipe. That seems oddly unnecessary. If that was the thing that was supposed to gather your attention, that's not big enough to gather your attention when zombies are attacking.
The new campaigns in Left 4 Dead 2 featured a great deal more water than in the original game. Therefore, it was a priority to improve our water rendering. One of the most important new pieces of technology enabled artists to paint water flow uniquely on each water surface. This allows us to make the water look like it's flowing in any direction we desire without any constraints. This not only looks better, it aids gameplay by subtly guiding the player where they need to go. As an example, in the swamp levels, the water usually appears to flow towards the end of the level. And water is far more convincing when you can actually see it flow around obstacles like trees and rocks.
There have been massive improvements as far as water rendering, pretty much just on the NVIDIA side and the DirectX side of video encoding and video rendering technology. That technology would then be integrated into something like the Source Engine, or the Unreal Engine more realistically. So this water, by modern standards, does not look particularly amazing. It doesn't have ray tracing or anything like that on it, but it's not bad. That being said, while there is a lot more situations where we see water that we can't walk in and they're just using that as a barrier to stop you from being able to make it to walk wherever you want and make the game more of an open world game, that's kind of all it does. So you quickly ignore it in favor of looking at the zombies
Traditionally,
attacking you.
players were connecting to our multiplayer games by selecting a server with available player slots from a very big list. Players might select a server by an appealing server name or network latency. This worked well for 24 or 32 player games, where many players could have a great experience even without tight cooperation with their teammates. But for Left 4 Dead franchise, a different approach was required. We wanted to build a group of 4 players who could start a campaign together, possibly as complete strangers, but quickly acquire the feeling of being a bonded team. Valve matchmaking operates on a vast set of player statistics, from headshot percentages of friendly fire incidents to the likelihood of sharing a first aid kit with a wounded teammate. In the years since Left 4 Dead's release, our matchmaking system has undergone many changes, resulting in better player experience and longer average team playtime together. With the introduction of new team game modes, we now even measure performance of the entire team and do our best to provide the players with reliable teammates and worthy opponents. We continue to gather and analyze an abundance of statistical information from our real-world players and use that to improve our matchmaking system.
So none of that really matters. Like, you can't mute the audio. The audio should mute in a game when you pause. The matchmaking doesn't matter. It's nice that they improved it. I imagine whatever technology they improved was then later used in Counter-Strike Go, which ironically Counter-Strike Go did, just because of a Steam summer sale, get its highest concurrent players ever. But for Left 4 Dead 2, Left 4 Dead 1, nobody's playing the game, so that improvement of that matchmaking technology is not making the actual product of Left 4 Dead 2 better now, 12 years later. It's not making it any worse, but it's not making it better. And certainly I would say matchmaking technology has improved significantly.
For Left 4 Dead 2, the Source engine received many new features and optimizations that enable it to handle denser, higher resolution environments, effects, and characters. This gave us leeway to fit additional weapons, creatures, and larger environments into the same footprint as Left 4 Dead, while increasing the quality of each element across the board. Many of our particle effects now use several new techniques which at least double their visual resolution while requiring no additional memory. This has enabled us to create complex weather effects such as the heavy thunderstorms in the Hard Rain campaign. The new zombie horde is considerably more variable than that of the first game, with higher resolution meshes and skinning.
What was it called?
Not only do the infected look better, but using a combinatorial meshing and shading system, there's
One
over
of the two
10-fold number of variations
commentators called
possible
it the
in Left 4
wrong
Dead 2
name.
while consuming no new memory. The environments also feature considerably more polygonal density than the first game. Many elements that would have been painted into a texture are now fully modeled in the environment. Foliage looks cleaner, while also responding naturally to weather conditions. Additionally, water has
These
gotten a major
ladders are
visual
still
upgrade over
super
Left 4 Dead
janky.
1, with far superior lighting, reflections, and flow mapping. All these pieces come together to improve the visuals of the game while keeping it smooth to play.
I would argue that you probably waste a lot of video in you having these porta potties around, because they are just like pointless little squares, textures that they're never really used to block off a path, and zombies never jump out of them, so they're just like visually extra rendering for something that nobody would really question if they were all missing.
The Source engine uses two different methods for modeling world environments: a volume-based system for general forms and a polygon-based system for details. Each has its own advantages and disadvantages, and they must be integrated together to create a game map. One of the challenges associated with this setup is that the two systems have mostly separate authoring pipelines, and it's easy to make a change in one and break a tightly integrated set. As part of making the modular kit of parts that was used to create this bridge, we developed a new hybrid workflow that allows content authors to create and iteratively edit both types of world geometry simultaneously in a single tool. The resulting modules are pre-optimized Lego blocks that can be fitted together, allowing the level designer to focus more on gameplay and less on modeling.
Of course, that's exactly how Unreal Engine works, where you have a lot of simplified programming visual interface mechanics for not the hardcore game programmers to use, but for the animators and the less focused, less expert players to make. A level designer doesn't need to know how to write code as much as the programmer does, so if you can make it easy for them, it saves time. And as far as I can understand, what they were trying to say there is that the Source engine has a physics engine that would be the volume engine, and then a graphics engine that would be the polygon-based engine, which pretty much every game engine has that, and that often causes problems. You can see it in like The Witcher 3 when you're in a cutscene, that code is loading the graphics engine instead of the game engine. And there is a desire in my mind to merge those two engines better, but they never will, because the problem is the graphics engines are for cutscenes designed to make the game look really good, which makes sense. If I wanted to see a cutscene of Ellis, if he looked 2 or 3 times better in that cutscene, that would be better. In the same way that the trailer was pre-rendered graphics, so that would look better. Whereas in the actual game, where you on average are about this far away from the characters, you don't need to spend that extra graphical power to make the individual characters look good. You want to be able to put more zombies on the screen. So it's a trade-off that will always be made until we hit a point of super saturation with graphics ability and CPU power. At that point, then it just does not matter, and you can potentially have the full graphics engine running at the same time.
We're all sons of bitches, right?
And that's something Rochelle said in the trailer at the beginning of the game. So it's supposed to come full circle, and we didn't even get to hear that line of dialogue. They should have had each character read that line. So, yeah. At some point in the future, we may hit 4K resolution or 8K resolution, in which we just cannot physically make monitors that go any higher, and we may have like quantum computing technology or just really, really good improved technology in the graphics rendering, and at that point it may be that we are so super saturated with ability as far as graphics rendering that the idea of a physics engine and a graphics engine being separated doesn't make any sense. But I imagine for Unreal Engine version 5, 0 zombies were killed. I should get an achievement for that alone. But at least that does show that it is keeping an actual count, and it doesn't just have a set number that it will always spawn. Let's, I suppose, see the credits. I really don't have anything to say about this game, though. Like, we've seen it. You see the levels. Every level is kind of its own separate thing. If each scenario and campaign had been released as a Halloween experience for Counter-Strike Go, I don't think there would have been too much of a difference there. And I imagine that is exactly where Valve focused a lot of its attention, is to just continuously add more content to Counter-Strike Go. I can mention that as far as the Steam Summer Sale is going right now, it seems like now they're more and more de-emphasizing items that would bring you to the Valve Marketplace, which Counter-Strike Go heavily dominates the Valve Marketplace as far as trading items, and Valve getting a large cut on these digital goods. If anything, Valve introduced the idea of something like a NFC before NFC was even an idea, and they've been making huge amounts of bank over the past couple decades through Counter-Strike Go skins and weapon trading. That being said, there's been enough legal problems around the Valve Marketplace that they are now de-emphasizing it and trying to go into much more of a locked-in system where you earn points to buy things from a point shop, but the points effectively have no actual cash value, and so you can never check out the points or sell or trade something to that you get with points. It does have the advantage of people actually getting the things they actually want, but it has the disadvantage of getting an occasional 50 cents or so towards the purchase of a new game. There's a decent amount of people listed here, but they went through them so fast that I don't feel like they really listed who was working where. That felt like those credits were not broken down well at all. I guess we could check to see if anything else. Nope. The Last Stand was added September 24th, 2020. So it is possible that sometime around September in 2021, which is before the point when I'm recording this, new infected ladders. I assume that's to make custom levels where you can climb up the sides.
This update is brought to you by the community update team, so it's not even Valve working on it, basically. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if I actually have played with one of these people and that they are the last remaining group of people still working on the game. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say. It's better than Left 4 Dead 1 by several marks. But if they were to ever make a Left 4 Dead 3, you would have to be more than 12 years better than this game, I would feel. I'm just not really the target audience. I'm hoping, while I probably won't even bother to play Back 4 Blood, I'm hoping to see more than 12 years of improvement over this game. With them moving the trolls, there is a way to change things up and open up something. I'd like to see a lot more story. I'd like to see better character backstory and character development. I'd like to see whatever characters are introduced in Back 4 Blood to stick around if there is a Back 4 Blood 2. There's definitely a lot more competition this time around. And if Back 4 Blood is really just a soft remake on Left 4 Dead 2 or Left 4 Dead 1, that's not going to cut it. But yeah. If anything, I guess I just have to end once again saying I am not really adept to review games that are multiplayer focused, because your mileage is going to extremely vary based on whether you have 4 to 8 friends you can get to play with you. If you're just coming into this game to play a single player game, make sure you get this cheap. And almost certainly you can get the Valve collection of games fairly cheap anyways, but don't expect more than a 6 or 7 hour experience, and don't expect anything that isn't going to be fairly generic. And I think it's worth also mentioning that why did this second game not let me adjust the brightness? That was weird. Anyways, that's going to be it for this series. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. If you go to my YouTube channel page, there's a playlist tab where I have a playlist for every game I've ever covered. And if you want to support me even further, there's social media links down below, and there are links to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.